everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Today we are taking a look back at the Vanity Fair after party for the Oscars. I have never been accused of being quick to get a video out. It was a wonder that I was able to get the Oscars red carpet out within a couple of days, so I saved the after party for a fashion edition, so I hope you enjoy it, even though it's a little past due. Let's begin with Alba Baptista in this Roland Mouret gown. Now, I really like the gown itself. I think it's really beautiful. I think that it adds an accentuation to her waist, which is really nice, but it does look like it's falling down just a tad. I feel like it would just look so much better if it were just a tad bit higher. If you can see the contour of the boobs starting to come out and then the dress is too low. It just is. It looks like it's falling down. But I think that the necklace looks really beautiful with it, and the dress itself is really gorgeous. I like her hairstyle choice for this as well. Wearing Minot, we have Alexandra Shipp here, and I'm not loving it. I feel like the sheer skirt and the sparkled part across the hip is just not quite balanced enough. It's creating a little bit of a weird proportion. I feel like if it had more of the bedazzled part, it would be looking more balanced. But this, as it stands, is just not balanced enough. I do like the spaghetti strap. I'm happy to see that as opposed to strapless for this design. Allison Williams is wearing Dolce & Gabbana, and I don't love this one. There is a little too much happening up here on the shoulder. I don't think that the hairstyle is flattering the situation either. I think that the bust area looks just fine. I like the black band, though it could have stood to be just a tiny bit lower for her. And the tiered skirt, I don't know, I think it's all right. It's not my favorite. I do like the way it graduates, but really my biggest complaint is up here and the hairstyle for this. And maybe even the makeup just isn't quite popping. She looks a little bit washed out here. Let's put it this way. I've seen her look way more beautiful than this. America Ferrera downgraded her. She was wearing this gorgeous, glamorous, absolutely love pink dress, and then she's wearing this red suit situation for the after party. Now, I could understand wanting something a little bit less long, and overall, I don't hate the look. I think that the red color is really pretty on her. It just looks a little bit roomy, perhaps. It could have been fitted to her just a little bit nicer, this tuxedo dress. One of the weirdest and most outlandish looks for the Oscars after party, we have Andrea Riseborough in Jeremy Scott Couture. This sculptural piece is for a photo shoot or for a runway. It's editorial. I don't find it to be something that would be fun or pretty to wear for an after party. Anya Taylor-Joy took a departure from Dior and is wearing Miss Sohi for the after party. This is really pretty as a dress, but I'm not obsessed. There's a little bit too much happening right here because you have this really big dramatic scoop neck with the bralette situation. I feel like that alone would be enough, but then there's also the silver embellishments across the shoulders and shoulder pads, and then she has like, I don't know, a swim cap type situation on. I feel like this was just a little bit too much, a little too far, but this is the Vanity Fair Oscar party. It's a party. So it's okay to wear something that's a little bit more playful and fun and different in this setting. If she would have tried to wear this for a red carpet like event or for the Oscars itself, it would have been a disaster. Wrong occasion. But for this, I think it's okay. She's getting away with it at least. Also opting for black, we have Ashley Graham, and I think this one's pretty, but I at the same time feel like it's not quite balanced enough. The side that's missing the strap almost looks like it's a little bit too low, and the side with the strap almost looks a little bit ill-fitting. And then you have the big slit, dramatic cutout style slit. So I almost wish that it had the strap on the side that has the cutout and slit so that they were opposites. I feel like that would have helped add a little bit more balance. So it's not the most flattering thing I've seen her wear, but it's also not the worst. Aquafina is wearing a dress by Kong Tree. It's really boxy, and then it just has this really straight, heavy train in the back. I like the texture of it, I like the color of it, but I think if they were going to go for that train, maybe it could have had some element of it a little bit more shapely throughout the dress. I think all of it together just isn't quite flowing as nicely as they intended. I do love her platform heels here. I think they're a great choice. And perhaps an updo would have allowed us to see more of what's going on with the shoulder here, but I think her hair looks really pretty as it is. Yuri Keegan wore a Miri, and I think this one's pretty nice. It's interesting for a menswear, for a party look, this cropped jacket that's really snazzy and embellished is a fun choice, and I like the rose brooch as well. Matthew McConaughey and Camilla Alves attended, and she looks beautiful in this dress, but I'm not 100% behind it. It's a little bit messy. It's a little bit chaotic in its design, but of course that's not her fault. It's nothing to do with how she's wearing it or the fit, and everything to do with the design itself being a little bit chaotic. As for Matthew's suit option, it looks a little bit big on him. It looks like maybe it could have stood to have one more fitting, but I think the color choice is a really interesting combination, and I like that part of it. Wearing Loire, we have Camila Cabello, and this is one of the more successful options for the party. Just a nice, simple, well-done dress that has enough interest to it to keep it fresh. Wearing an Atelier Versace gown from Spring 2003 collection, we have Cardi B, and this is one of the best dresses I have seen her wear like ever. This is beautiful. I absolutely love it in every way. I love the lace. I love the beading. I think it's spectacular. But on the other hand, we have Charlize Theron in a flop, surprisingly, from Dior. They tried the sheer skirt and briefs situation, and it's just tragic. It's tragic no matter who you are. It's a terrible choice. But this also is making her chest look really droopy because of the design of it. Because it has this halter top that's sort of a high neck situation, and then there's like not enough support for her boobs or something because it's looking really droopy. And then you have this almost like a peplum frilly that's hitting her a little bit too high, taking away from her waist and making her hips look even more narrow. The key to a peplum helping your shape or your figure is that it hits you at the very bottom of the thinnest part of your waist and flares out over the top of your hips so that it enhances your hip line and makes your hips look a little bit wider and your waist look a little bit thinner in comparison. That's the magic of a peplum. Peplum done like this is not helping anything. So this overall is a complete and utter fail. Bringing a nice pop of color, we have Chelsea Handler, Manolo Blahnik, and I quite like it. I think it's all right. I'm not a huge fan of these triangular bits coming off the tops of her cups because they look like they're flapping outward. Like they're just kind of poorly done. I think it would look much nicer if it was just a plain sweetheart. But I love the color, and I think the cut of it is quite flattering for her. Chloe Bailey in a very dramatic statement Robert Woon dress. It's a very simple, dark, coppery gold dress with all the drama at the bottom with these dramatic sculptural ruffles that are placed in a really interesting way. I think it's got a lot going for it, pulling it off nicely. I think it looks nice on her. It almost, though, looks like two separate dresses and situations. I don't know that they're necessarily married well enough. It looks ever so slightly awkward, but I get what they were going for, and I think that it was a nice attempt. In a somewhat tragically frumpy look, we have Chloe Sevigny. This is a Simone Rocha dress, shorts and top situation that's just incredibly frumpy. It looks awful. I feel like this would look cool on a runway or in a photograph in a magazine because it is like a giant bow, but to actually wear it, it just looks frumpy. It looks not great. Chris Evans, also in Dolce & Gabbana, making a bold statement with this gorgeous berry color. I love the color. I think it's really fabulous. And the cut of the suit is really nice as well. This is one of the best suits I saw. In the same designer, we also have Coco Jones, and this one is leaning into the feather trend that was coming up last year. Coleman Domingo in a bedazzled Balmain trench blazer type situation here, taking risks as usual for him. It's definitely a statement piece. Wearing Louis Vuitton, we have Cynthia Erivo, and this one looks pretty nice. I think it was nicer than the one she wore for the actual Oscars red carpet, but there's still a couple of issues with it. The cups look to be falling down for sure, and perhaps a bit too tight as well. And then with the straps that just come across, the off-the-shoulder strap, it's further accentuating the visual interpretation that this dress either won't come up high enough, like it's too tight or too small, or that it's falling down. The straps are giving the visual that it's falling down, paired up with the cups. It's just making the whole thing look too ill-fitting, which is unfortunate because otherwise the dress itself looks fabulous. It looks very pretty and interesting, but because of the fit, it ended up a fail. This Zuhair Murad dress on Danai Gurira is okay. I do not like the hairstyle choice she went for this outfit, and I do not like the wrinkles at the bottom of the dress and in the train of the dress. But I do like the color, and I do like the opera gloves. They are a sheer opera glove, which I typically hate, but because they're in a color, I feel like they're working a little bit better than when they're in a nude or a black. I still wish they would have been just solid and not sheer, but I'll take it in this situation. The dress itself, though, I think is perfectly fine with the exception of these wrinkles. They should have done something to help the wrinkles. Wearing Valdrin Sahidi, we have Divine Joy Randolph, and this looks really nice. I think that the placement of the beading across the dress is flattering to her figure. I think the opera gloves look nice. I think the whole thing, the updo, everything is flowing together nicely. It's not necessarily my absolute favorite with this straight across with the corners seem a little bit aggressive, a little bit like a big huge rectangle placed on top of her chest, but at the same time, it doesn't look like it's falling down. So I give that a pass for the sake that at least it's not a spilling out sort of a situation that we have seen time and time again with these designers just not fully understanding the boob. Demi Lovato opted for Sophie Couture, and this is really pretty. It seemed to be narrowly avoiding the falling down aspect. I do wish that it didn't have an off-the-shoulder sleeve because I think that that just kind of further enhances the look of a strapless gown falling down. I think it would have been nicer if the sleeves were up a little higher or something, but the dress itself looks very pretty. Dominique Fishback had a nice start to her Oscars after party dress. This metallic skirt is just reading a little messy and almost a little cheap looking, in large part because of the wrinkles and the texture of it. Donald Glover is also wearing a Miri, and this one I don't like as much as the other one, but it's a statement, it's a fashion moment. Looking absolutely perfect, we have Elizabeth Hurley and Marmar Halim. And not quite hitting the mark, we have Ellie Goulding. This one has these sheer aspects to it where you can see the line of the under boob that doesn't look very flattering, and the briefs, again, just doesn't look very flattering. If this were lined, it would have been a complete win. Elsa Pataki and Chris Hemsworth for the after party, still looking stunning and fabulous. Emily Blunt is wearing Dolce & Gabbana, here with John Krasinski. And this dress is absolutely beautiful. I love this blushy color of it. It's so gorgeous. And when I zoom in, it does not look like it's a sheer skirt with briefs. It's just the dress is cut that way, but it's actually cut in a way that is flattering and it's not see-through from what I can see on my monitor, which makes it perfection. I absolutely love the flowiness of the skirt. I love the spaghetti straps. I think the whole thing looks just absolutely gorgeous. And I do like it better than her Oscars red carpet for the awards show dress because that one had the floating straps and the Y front and stuff that we went over. If you missed that video, I'll link it for you. In one of the worst looks of the evening, we have Emily. This sculptural piece just made her look like she had very asymmetrical crooked boobs. It's lifting away from the chest, which I never like. It's like a shell out in front of you. I think looks super awkward always. And you can just see the chest piece, the part where it's showing where the bust is even asymmetrical. Like, it's just not flattering to a gal, and that's unfortunate. I also don't love the white sheer sort of train situation going on. I think it ended up just looking a little bit like messy tissue paper. Emma Stone changed into this Louis Vuitton dress for the after party. Don't love this one. It's looking pretty messy. It's looking a little incongruous. It doesn't have a very nice flow to it, and on top of it all, it's not flattering to her. It's a shame. Eva Longoria wearing Tamara Ralph looks really, really nice. Spaghetti straps for the win, flattering her waistline. The length of the dress is good. The fringe and the metallic detailing on it is really pretty and interesting. It looks delicate. It looks fancy. Perfect. Gabrielle Union is wearing Zuhair Murad, and I think it's okay. It's another metallic-y dress. I think it's all right. It is flattering to her figure for the most part. I could see Beyonce wearing this at a concert. So it might be a little over the top for the after party. Greta Gerwig had a great choice of dress for the Oscars red carpet, but then she swapped into a suit trousers with an oversized blazer for the after party. This is by Saint Laurent. The trousers are fitted enough that it's helping to balance that oversized blazer, and she looks really nice in it. I think the necklaces did a good job, but it's still kind of bulky in comparison to what I think flatters her most. Once again wearing Loewe, we have Greta Lee. I'm not sure if she's worn anything else but Loewe this award season. I think this is a really pretty dress. The silky satin skirt looks absolutely perfect. However, the bodice area and around the stomach, there's a little bit of puckering here and there. It looks like it doesn't have quite as smooth of a finish as you would hope. So perhaps that's something that could have been sorted out either with prepping the dress somehow, or perhaps by wearing a smoothing layer underneath of some sort, or just lining the dress a little bit, because it just ended up with quite a little bit of wrinkling around the stomach area and the waist. Haley Steinfeld went for an Alexandre Vauthier sculptural piece here, which I actually really like. I think this is really interesting. It's really fun. It's cool. It's got a lot of interest in texture and shape and silhouette without overwhelming us by also being in an intense color or pattern or having more changes in opacity. This was a really smart approach because it allows you to take in and appreciate the shape and the texture of the ruffled skirt, sort of almost peplum vibe, without being overstimulated. So I quite like this. Wearing off-white, however, Halle Bailey had less success. This ended up looking super messy and unflattering. It's almost like it's not fitting her properly because the stitching along the edges, the trim that's white, is very distracting. And throughout the whole dress, it looks like it's not lining up with her body properly. She has a great figure, and this is just not flattering her at all. It's completely unfair. It looks like it's one of those nude dresses with just the undies on underneath, which is not going to be helpful, but it looks like there's like a lot of lumps and bumps going on throughout the waist and the hip and the arms and across the bust. It's very asymmetrical, and all of that has to do with the dress itself. It's not her. So this was very unfair to her. I do think that like the lace along the skirt from about the knees down is pretty, but the rest of it is just a disaster that needed to be fixed. Hannah Einbender wore Louis Vuitton, a nice safe option, but very pretty. And wearing Balenciaga, Shame, we have Hari Nef, and this is tragic. It's horrible. It's not nice. It looks like it's falling down. Where are her trousers? What is happening? I hate all of it. Wearing Harris Reed, Heidi Klum had somewhat of a miss. This had potential. This one I just don't love. It's looking a little awkward. It's not flattering for her, but I think that it had a cool idea. Irina Shayk is wearing Dolce & Gabbana, and I like aspects of this. I think that it's one of the better takes on the sheer trend that I have seen. However, the skirt starting pretty much right underneath her boobs and flaring out so dramatically is making her look really boxy with stilts. You know, it's a box on stilts silhouette here that I can see being a fun thing to try and a fun piece to wear. It's a little bit playful, but it's not as flattering to her as it could be. I think that it's okay for this after party situation, but I wouldn't want to see it literally anywhere else. It would be a complete and utter disaster. Another Valdrin Sahidi dress on Issa Rae here, I think it's okay. The sculptural bow-inspired shoulder piece is interesting, and it needed something to add interest because otherwise it's just a pretty plain black dress. But besides that, I think it's just a little bit ill-fitting around the bust. Rita Paul's dress is just okay. I'm not loving the gloves. I'm not loving the cut of it for her, but it could be worse. Jennifer Lawrence is wearing a Givenchy Fall 1996 couture piece that is almost bridal inspired. It has a lot of parts of it that's interesting. The collar and the puff sleeve and the empire waistline are total art history moment here, but I don't love the sheerness of it because it looks to be a sheer skirt with the nude briefs underneath. We don't want that. We don't need it. It's much less noticeable in this particular shade and color of fabric. With the pattern on top of it kind of helps to prevent you from focusing right in on that area. But otherwise, I think it's a really nice dress that had great potential. I also think she chose a good hair and makeup look for this particular dress with that neckline and sleeve being a little bit more dominant. Jodie Turner-Smith in a gorgeous Gucci dress that was a safe and simple dress itself, but had this high slit and deep v-neck to add the drama, and she carried it off perfectly. Julia Fox, however, looked really scary. This is too much. This tulle big thing makes her look like a Disney villain with the latex on top of it. As usual, it's over the top and not a great choice. This Oscar de la Renta dress did absolutely no favors for Kathy Hilton. I think that it made her look frumpy and wide. It took away from her waist. It looks just so utterly unflattering around the bust and the belly and the hips. Nothing about this looks nice. Why did they do this to her? Kendall Jenner's dress looks okay. I think it's all right. I'm not loving this sheer skirt, this sort of almost gathering of the sheer black mesh in the front is giving loincloth vibes. It's not completely tragic, but I don't necessarily think this is a pretty dress per se. Kim Kardashian wearing Balenciaga. Shame. Again, shame on these people for choosing Balenciaga. I think that the dress is pretty up until this triangle. It's really aggressive. It comes up almost like in front of her face. In some pictures, it looks like it's up in front of her face. I think it's up a little too high. If it were lowered some, it would have been a more practical and pretty option. Tegan's dress looked terribly ill-fitting. It's cutting into her boobs on the side here. It's making that look really unflattering. It's making it look like she has fat side boob, which she doesn't. We all know she's in great shape. It just looks frumpy and bad right there. It also looks unflattering down around the skirt areas. Kylie Jenner's dress was nice and simple, a really pretty dress. I would wear this dress. I think it's gorgeous, but I don't love the hair that she chose for it. I think it would have been so gorgeous with something a little bit more polished. The wet hair look is just outdated and over. Kylie Minogue is wearing Gucci, and I think that this is a fun and playful option for an after party. The blue and spring green add a bright pop of color that is very much welcomed. Lenny Kravitz is wearing Saint Laurent, and it's one of the better outfits I've seen him wear. I like it much better than the over dramatic wide leg trouser or the sheer shirt that he wore that one time. This is much better than that. Lee Aldridge is wearing Prada, and I like so much about it, but I don't love these feathers. They're just like feathers sticking up on top, almost like birds. I don't love it. It's very artistic though. Give credit where credit's due. In one of the best Gucci dresses though, we have Lily. This is just perfect for her. I think that the sleeves are perfect. It flatters her waistline, as you can see. It's nipping in really nicely for her there. The nice square neckline adds a bit of contrast to the more voluminous bust and rounded shoulders around there. So that's a really nice balancing element to this dress. I think it's really beautiful. And I think that her hair, makeup, and jewelry complement it perfectly. Rabe is wearing Marc Jacobs. And the dress itself is really pretty. I think it's flattering to her body type. It goes well with her, though the gloves might have looked better if they were slightly more off-white than this. Lindsay Lohan also opted for Balenciaga. Shame, shame. But this dress is quite nice for her. It's very flattering. I find that silver to be very complimentary on redheads a lot of the time. Some silvers or neutrals can really wash out a redhead, but here this silver and some of the other silvers on redheads just pop nicely. It's a nice like neutral for a redhead sometimes. And this looks really nice. I like the shape of the dress. I like the cut of the dress. All of it's working nicely, but I still don't like Balenciaga. Another disappointing dress, Robert Woon again. We have Lizzo in this messy, wrinkly brown opera coat with pantyhose skirt. It's just not pretty. It's not working. These sheer skirts literally look like pantyhose, in particular if they are in a nude shade. And this is a nude sort of brown shade that just looks terrible. It adds wrinkle, visual noise. It looks messy. It reads as pantyhose to us with runs in them. It's not cute in any way, shape, or form. And that's really disappointing. Nobody deserves a dress as disastrous as this. Lupita Nyong'o is wearing Armani Privé, and this is really pretty and interesting. Her hairstyle might be a little bit over the top for it, but overall, this looks beautiful. Fits her really nicely. Another Zuhair Murad dress. This is probably the best one of the evening. This is like this sherbet sunset, gorgeous, flowy dress, just looking absolutely beautiful on her. Margot Robbie's dress is terrible. Or outfit. This isn't a dress. This is a onesie, and it's terrible. It looks like it's falling down. She did nothing with her hair once again. Where's the trousers? Why are there no trousers or skirt? It's just, this is a showpiece. This is something to wear on stage. This is something to wear for a performance. This is not something for a party. You do need trousers or skirt for a party. This Richard Quinn dress on Maud Apatow looks really, really nice until I get to the bottom. Down at the very bottom, around like below the knee where the ankles are, it almost looks like it's a jumpsuit with pants because of the way it's cut. And I really, honestly, I don't know if it's a jumpsuit or if it's a dress. I would have liked it better as a dress, or better, if they didn't do this design element where it didn't look fully like a dress. I'm not loving that. Michaela J. Rodriguez changed into an Iris Van Herpen piece for the after party that is very sculptural. Where are her hands? Where are her arms? How is she going to do anything at the party? This is a really editorial piece that probably should have stayed in an editorial context rather than on a red carpet for a party. Michelle Yeoh wore Balenciaga for the Oscars red carpet. Shame. And again for the after party. Shame. Shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be happening. This, however, I think is pretty nice. It's a little bit heavy around the shoulder area here. I like the idea of it. It looks like it would be nice and comfortable and warm for an evening event, but it does create a little bit of a top-heavy silhouette for her. Molly Sims is wearing Sophie Couture, another silver metallic reflective option here that's pulled off relatively successfully. Nicole Richie in Nina Richie looking pretty nice. This take on the sheer trend is working just fine for me. I think that the volume and the gathering of the fabric around the neck and the cuffs is working. Though her cuffs look to be maybe a little too long, I think that that allows that little bit of room in the sheer fabric for it to not end up looking really painfully awkward and strange. I think that that helped this along a little bit. Nina Dobrev wore another silver metallic-y dress, though less reflective and much more successful. I think that it's so much better when it's not super reflective, but this looks really flattering on her. It looks to fit her perfectly, and it's a great choice. Olivia Munn is wearing custom Fendi, and I quite like it. I think this is really nice. Paris is wearing Sabina Belinko, and I think it's okay. For as much as I dislike the sheer skirt with briefs, this one works okay because it's reading like a totally naked dress with just the jewels that were really trendy for a long time. And I do think that that trend is dying and it's time to move on from the totally naked nude dresses. And I still don't like the fact that the briefs are creating a focal point of the pants area because it can't not create a focal point. So I don't like those elements of it, but the rest of it I think is really pretty. I absolutely love these opera gloves. I think that having straps paired up with the off the shoulder element helps to bring balance and prevent it from looking like it's falling down too much. The styling of this is all perfect. I just wish it was lined a little bit more on the bottom. That's all. Phoebe is wearing Louis Vuitton here, and it's just not quite as flattering as you would hope. It's making her bust area look a little bit droopy, almost like the straps needed to be shortened just a tad. And I think the harsh ending of the lining isn't necessarily flowing very nicely. It's giving a very, very abrupt change there that creates a focal point where you just keep looking right back to where that hemline is. And that's not necessarily allowing you to appreciate the craftsmanship of the rest of the dress. Rosie Huntington Whiteley is wearing Valentino haute couture and looking fabulous. She has great taste. She rarely sets a foot wrong when it comes to fashions that she is selecting to wear for an event. This looks really pretty. Rumor Willis in a questionable Monique Lhuillier dress. I'm just not loving it. It's too big on the bust. It's falling down. It's pulling away from her bust. And the cut of it is just not as flattering to her figure as it could be. I think if the bust had been fixed, it would help this so much. And then the gloves being a satin is sort of competing with the dress itself because the dress has a bit of a sheen to it. So I think there could have been a better pairing for the opera gloves, though I do like the opera gloves for this. Also, she should definitely have a necklace with this strapless dress, but the bust, the cups definitely needed to be improved for this to be pulled off successfully. Brian Michelle Bath's dress is not as flattering to her waistline as it needed to be. And Selma Hayek's, I love the dress, but I don't love the hair. The wet, slicked back hair, no matter how much I love Selma Hayek, I don't love that hairstyle on anybody. Sandra Huller in another sculptural dress here, this time Schiaparelli. I'm not loving the big, paneled, dramatically oversized sculptural bust situation. I don't even know what to call this or how to describe it. What does this even look like? I don't know. I think that the dress itself from the bust down is quite flattering for her figure and looks really nice. But what the heck are those? They shouldn't be on a dress. Sarah Silverman in a very playful look. No major complaints here. And Saweetie wearing Toni Ward. It's all right. It's pretty successful. I mean, it looks ever so slightly messy, but it does look to be fitting her nicely. So at least there's that. Then we have Stephanie Sue and Kate Spade. This is a total look here. We have Bermuda shorts and an oversized blazer. It's not my personal cup of tea, but for what it is, I can appreciate it. Wearing this Mark Bauer dress, which Angelina Jolie wore to the Oscars previously, is Sydney Sweeney. And there's so much about this that I like. I think it's a beautiful dress. I liked it then and I like it now. Its satin is luscious and gorgeous and well done. Thomasin McKenzie is wearing Rodarte, and I'm not a fan. This white flower is really chunky. It's really big and really intense. I think that if her shawl was matching flower, it would have tied it in better and looked better, but the shawl being sort of sheer fabric isn't merging nicely enough. There's no harmony there, so it doesn't quite work. Trace Lysette. This red dress is very unflattering to her figure, and that is quite unfortunate. It's just an awkward cut. It's an awkward place to place a cut, and it's not looking nice. It also looks like there's not enough support underneath there to be flattering for her in general. Tracy Ellis Ross and Balmain, I like parts of it, but I don't like other parts of it. They are experimenting this season with these big, almost padded looking entire shoulder areas. It's almost like it's not just a shoulder pad, the whole area is padded. And I don't love that, but I do think that this high contrast black design across the top is really nice, but it stops being nice at that swoop down the front towards the crotch. That gives the impression that it's a bodysuit or a onesie that you didn't snap closed. Or as some point out, men's Y-front underwear is what that sort of visual reminds them of. I just don't like that. It's not flattering. It's not nice. It's not polite. They should have fixed it. Usher brought the drama and the volume to his sparkly top, and Vanessa Hudgens switched from something perfectly polished for the Oscars red carpet to this Alberta Ferretti dress for the after party that is sheer with panties showing underneath that look like they're falling down, and it's just not working out. I don't like the sheer skirts with just the panties underneath. It looks sloppy and messy, unfortunately. Victoria Monet is wearing Harris Reed, and I think that this is all right. I really, really love the skirt. I like the boning on the bodice as well, but I do not love the bust and the swoop up here. It's just not quite flowing nicely because of the flash photography. You can't quite tell what's happening there with the bust. I think that the shape of it would have been fine if they had lined this portion of it across the bust. It would have worked much better. And Yara Shahidi in Gucci, a nice, simple option. No major complaints, although it does look like maybe the straps needed to be shortened a tad. And Zooey Deschanel's dress is just all right. I'm not sure that this is as flattering as it should be up here to her, but the rest of it just seems pretty nice. What was your favorite dress from the Oscars after party? I would have to say Cardi B's Atelier Versace gown was one of my absolute favorites. And Emily Blunt's for sure. Some of the best of the evening. I think some of the biggest fails included Charlize Theron's, Chloe's, Kathy Hilton's, Halle Bailey, and Hari Nef. Were just tragic and awful. But as usual, the list of worst dressed or disappointing looks could go on much longer. Leave it in the comments what you thought of today's video, what your best and worst looks were, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you have a very happy day ahead. Bye!